Chag Purim Sameach, everybody. This is Purim Day, and we're going to go on with a topic which is very much related to Purim in a way, even though it happens to just what we're learning. But as Moriah has often pointed out, there's no coincidence in the world. As a matter of fact, the Amalek is, the Torah says, Asher Korcha Baderach, that they sort of chanced upon you. Amalek attacked the Jewish people. It means to chance, Asher Korcha Baderach, the chanced upon you. So Amalek is the looking at the world as everything's chance. It's just all just a coincidence. And the fighting Amalek is to realize there is no coincidence. Everything is meaningful. And therefore, even sometimes when you're learning something, we've seen this so many times, you'd be learning two different things, but somehow everything all fits together. So one of the major themes of Purim is the strange way we celebrate it in contrast to Hanukkah. They're both, sort of post-Torah holidays and have a similar theme in the sense there's a bad guy, right? Them, there's the good guy, us, right? And the odds are stacked against us and we win, right? So in that sense, there's this commonality. But the way we celebrate it is so different because on Hanukkah, we celebrate it with a light, right? And Purim, we celebrate it by really very kind of party, right? We have a big Purim Suda, we give presents, and people make a few l'chaim, sometimes more than a few. Here's is a dry, Kool-Aid like with Jim Jones Kool-Aid. So in any case, we it's very much of a party. So the question, it's the same theme, but such a dissimilar way of observing. So the famous explanation which is given is that the threat to the Jewish people in the Hanukkah story was a spiritual threat, right? That the Syrian Greeks, the whole idea of Hellenism, said to the Jews, I got nothing against you racially. Jews are cool, but you got to get with the program, come to the gym, work out. Nothing against gyms. If you buy into what we're doing on a spiritual, cultural level, that the fact that your name is Bernstein, it's okay. I have nothing against Bernsteins and nothing against Steiners. It's okay. It's a nice name, but as long as you buy into the program. So because the threat was spiritual, we observed the holiday in a spiritual way, and light is the most classic expression of spirituality. But Haman, he said, if your name is Steiner, Bernstein, Weinstein, Blumenspiel, I don't care what it is, Zaf, what kind of name is that? So it doesn't matter what if your name is Jewish, I don't care what you think or believe, we're going to destroy you. That's kind of it's a racial hatred of the Jewish people, a hatred of the Jewish people, which is essential. Regardless, you cannot, nothing you could do would satisfy Haman. I mean, you couldn't say, "Hey, I'll become a Hamanite." Is that cool? No, you're dead, right? Of course, it's very parallel to the modern phenomenon of Nazism. Right? Doesn't matter what you believe, right? No, it's a racial hatred, essential hatred. So it's a destruction of a threat to not just the Jewish spirit, but the Jewish body. So therefore, we celebrate the victory bodily. Okay? That's why Purim is a very bodily celebration, a party. Right, L'chaim? Yes?
Wasn't Haman angry because Mordechai wouldn't bow down?
Yeah, so that's, what it is? It's like a material which is flammable. The reason that it is flammable because of inherent properties of the flammable material, gasoline, right? Now, it requires a spark. But the fact that if I were to put a spark on this table, is not going to have much of an impact, right? So Haman is gasoline. He's flammable. He hates the Jewish people racially, right? But it required a spark, right, to set it off. So the spark was that Mordechai didn't bow down. Okay, that was an incredibly brilliant question. by my significant other. Okay, we're very blessed to have. I'm blessed at least. Okay, so now what I want to do is on that exactly that point. It's amazing how this works out. To take what we discussed here as Rav Kook, and we develop a little bit further, and that is the following: that Rav Kook has said that one of the great challenges of it's an inevitable challenge that earthiness, naturalness, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu created nature. He created this world. He doesn't want us to live in a monastery. Dr. Koff, in case you were considering that. Okay, so he doesn't want us to live in a monastery. But the problem is that once you don't live in a monastery and you embrace the world and its natural fullness, then you're going to encounter the challenges of that. But the wrong approach would be to go to a monastery. Okay, and Rav Kook had quoted that the famous example of the Nazir, the Nazirite, who doesn't drink wine. He wants to be super holy. But there's a certain misguided element in being a Nazir, as the Gemara explains, that when the Torah says he has to bring a sin offering, why? Because he deprived himself of one of the gifts of Hashem, which is wine. Yeah, so he's got to pay for that. That's a sin. And therefore, he has to bring a sin offering. So you see from that, Rav Kook says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to embrace naturalness and earthiness, the gifts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, but somehow you have to navigate that. So I just want to now share with you, it's not in your text, but Rav Aviner brings it in his footnote here. It's a teacher's edition here. And Rav Kook, in a different work, Rav Kook wrote a commentary on the Agadah, the non-legal passages in the Talmud, and it's called Ein Ayah. Okay, that's the name of the commentary. And so this is a comment on a Gemara. So the Gemara here is a comment on a pasuk in Tehillim. Okay, so this pasuk in Tehillim says the following: Rigzu val techtau. Get mad and don't sin. Okay. And then the pasuk goes on, Imru bilfavchem, say in your heart. Okay. And it goes on, Al mishkavchem, by on your bed. Right? Lishkov means to lay down. The domu sela, and be silent. It's a hard pasuk. What does that mean? So the Gemara in there, Masechet Brachot, explains these are steps in how to navigate that challenge between embracing the naturalness of life, all the gifts that Hashem gave us, and to be a tzaddik, to strive for being righteous without becoming monastic. So the Gemara says the following: what does it mean that rigzu val techtau, get angry? It doesn't mean get angry like you think of it. So the Gemara says it means that le'olam yargiz adam yetzer tov al yetzer hara. A person should arouse the good impulse to be angry at the evil impulse. That's the first step the Gemara says. And then the Gemara says, if that works, we'll explain what all these things mean in a second. Rav Kook explain what it means. Right now, we're just looking at the Gemara. So if that works, excellent. But somehow, what happens if that's not working? To excite the good impulse over the evil impulse, you're still failing. You're getting tripped up in the minefield. So the next step is, it says, speak in your hearts, the pasuk. So the Gemara says that means learn Torah. Okay, so first of all, first step is get your good impulse angry over your bad impulse. If that doesn't work, then learn Torah. If that works, great. If it doesn't work, so the next step is al mishkavchem, on your bed. What mitzvah do you do when you go to bed? So that's the reference to the saying Shema. Excellent, Rabbi. That beard is me. That's something. Okay, so say the Shema. So first step is get your good pulse angry over your bad impulse. Second step is to learn Torah. Third step is to say the Shema. And then, and if that doesn't work, then the pasuk ends by V'domu sela. be silent. So the Gemara says that's an allusion to where's the ultimate silence? Death. Do you cheat?
I was just lying
It's
in
that
bed,
beard.
right?
It's that beard. It's amazing.
I'll do
Think-
it. This is the Mazrite.
Think about, the Gemara says, think about the fact that we're going to die. Okay, so those are the steps. Okay, get the good impulse agitated over the evil impulse. If that doesn't get you on the straight and narrow, second thing is to learn Torah. If that doesn't work, the third step is to say the Shema, and the fourth step is to think about death. So what's that all about? Rav Kook explains. He says the following, that, we have in our personality, we have two types of powers. We have Tovim V'Ra'im, right? We have good powers and bad powers. Now, Rav Kook then goes on to say, those bad powers, which in a lot of other approaches would say, ooh, those are terrible things, I got to burn them out of me. Rav Kook says, no, those are tools. All the things that those kochot, those powers we have, which seem to, like some people are a little bit, say have a tendency towards anger or whatever it may be, right? So those are tools. That's a gift. Kodesh Baruch Hu gave you that gift. Okay, so when Kodesh Baruch Hu gives you a tool, the last thing you should do is to throw it in the garbage. That's what it means to be go to a monastery. To take all those tools that Kodesh Baruch Hu gives you and throw it in the garbage. No, what you have to do, you have to figure out how to use the tool properly. Someone gives you a screwdriver, right? But you think it's a hammer. It's not going to do you too much good. Okay, you have to learn how to use the tool properly. So what do you do? So the first step is that you excite the Yetzer HaTov over the Yetzer Hara. So what does that mean? So you empower, see, if the tool has its own mind, who's in driver's seat? That's it. Who's in driver's seat here?
Google.
So if in fact those like tendency towards anger or whatever it may be, that's the driver, you're sunk, right? So the first step in navigating the minefield of this existence is make sure that the driver's seat is occupied by the Yetzer HaTov. So once the Yetzer HaTov is in the driver's seat, so that should work, or it often can work, because then it can use those tools, right, for the right purpose. So that's what the Gemara said, right? And make sure when it said get the Yetzer HaTov angry over the Yetzer Hara, that means that the Yetzer HaTov should say, get out of that driver's seat. What are you doing over there? You're not supposed to be sitting in that seat. Go over there. Okay, so then that should work. So the Gemara says, but if that doesn't work, the next step is to learn Torah, right? So what does that mean? So Rav Kook explains, it's not enough just to be in the driver's seat because you got a tool over there. You have to know how to use the tool. Now that requires a discernment. You got to go to the University of YouTube, look up on YouTube how to use a screwdriver, whatever it may be. That means to learn Torah. Learning Torah is the way we can discern, it's in the right place now. It's in the passenger seat, right? But I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with this tool. So you have to go to YouTube and figure out how to use it. That's learning Torah. So that should be okay. That should work, right? For a lot of people, that'll be good, right? But sometimes it doesn't work. So what's the third step, the Gemara said? So the third step is to say the Shema. So Rav Kook explains, what does that mean? Sometimes looking at a YouTube video doesn't work. Right? It's one thing to look at a YouTube video. It's another thing to take that information and integrate it into the personality. When things are just here, it's just underneath your yarmulke or your tichel or your shaitel, right? It's not integrated into personality. It's not integrated enough to be able to use it. That's the Shema. So Rav Kook explains the Shema is taking an idea. Because what's the Shema? Even the first sentence. Shema Yisrael, Shema Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's basically philosophy. Hashem is one. There have been books written on what does it mean Hashem is one, right? But then, V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. Love Hashem. Take that cognitive idea and then integrate it into the emotions. The emotions, that's a powerful engine to be able to take the purely intellectual cognitive idea and give it oomph, high octane. How do you take an intellectual idea and give it high octane? by energizing the emotion. Okay, that's Kriyat Shema. That's the Shema. So wow, we've done all kinds of things to be able to make sure we can navigate the minefield properly, right? So we make sure that that tool is in the passenger seat, right, of our so-called bad traits. Yeah, don't throw them out of the car, right? That's a shame, but keep it in the passenger seat. Second step is to be able to do what? What do we say? I got to know how to use that tool. Okay, so that's learn Torah. Wait a second, just having that knowledge doesn't always help. You have to be able to have that oomph to be able to harness it and that excitement, enthusiasm. That's Shema. That's symbolized by the Shema. You know what? We do all those 3 steps. Sometimes it doesn't work. So, wait a second. Let me just finish the idea. So what's the last thing? So the Gemara said, think about death. So Rav Kook explains, see, that's the final solution. Bad image there. But Rav Kook says, when all else fails, because death is the opposite of exuberance and naturalness. Because, if being a Nazir, not drinking wine is a sin, there is such a institution in the Torah. Because sometimes we're in such a state of being messed up that we really do need to withdraw from naturalness, but it's only last resort. So that's what it means to think about death, because death is the idea, okay, maybe I need to that's why, let's just take the idea of wine. People have a tendency towards abuse of alcohol. So it should be a dry Purim. I mean, people can have the mitzvah Purim without getting drunk, and maybe should. A lot of terrible things happen on Purim. People are killed. Gemara has an example of one rabbi who killed another rabbi. But just a few years ago, I think in Baltimore, a kid got drunk. He was killed on the road because what a terrible shame. So if sometimes the only avenue is to say, I need to withdraw a little bit from the exuberance of life. And so that is the last step, if all else fails. Okay, and that's the way Gemara expresses it. V'im nitzcho, if one was then victorious over that tool you have, mutav, that's good. V'im lav, but if not, go to the next step. So only is the last and final step if necessary. Break glass in case of fire is abstinence, right? And that's the idea of thinking about death, the 4 steps there. Okay, now there was a comment over here.
When you talk about Shema, but the actual words, now this is from Mishlei or something. The thing you're reading, it's in the Gemara.
That's a Gemara.
It's a Gemara.
Yeah, and it's a Gemara based on a pasuk in Tehillim.
Oh, okay, Tehillim.
Yeah, Psalms.
So, why focus on the bedtime Shema if somebody says, "Tell me about the Shema"? I would not have ordinarily thought about that. That's the 3rd time we say Shema. So
yeah, okay. That's a great question. So let me actually just take one step back. So the only reason I said bedtime Shema is because the pasuk is al mishkavchem. Mishkav is but it doesn't necessarily refer to the bedtime Shema. Thank you, but it's probably more accurately referring to when the Torah says you should say the Shema when b'shoch b'cha uvakumecha, when you're lying down and when you're rising up. So that probably exaggerated a little bit when I said bedtime Shema, because that's just Mishkav was thinking bed, but it's really referring to the primary mitzvah of in the morning and the evening. But it's interesting that the Gemara, the Torah, when it describes that mitzvah, what does it start with? B'shoch b'cha, when you lie down and when you rise up. So, because that's the way the Torah describes it. That's why the pasuk in Tehillim, alluding to Shema, mentions al mishkavcha. So it's not the bedtime Shema, really. It's when you lie down, which is in fact the nighttime Shema, but not bedtime Shema. Thank you. That was a very good question. Yes.
When you said that, we sort of have to remove ourselves from life, I had a different idea when I heard you say that.
Bakasha.
And that is that, when you daven, there's so many places in there it says, please don't let us be ashamed forever. When a Jew, let's say, is knowledgeable enough and they know that, we're working for Olam Haba. Ultimately, we're trying to sanctify God, but we're, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, and I thought about this myself, I don't want to go in front of Hashem like empty-handed. And you know that we're always trying to, do mitzvot. When we get it, there's no more striving in this world. And once we die, we're taking whatever it is, meager or whatever, in our little hands up in front of the heavenly court, in front of God. And nobody wants to feel that feeling of shame in front of God and feel that, for forever.
So you're so sorry. Just this is a very good point. I want to hear how you understand how you're tying this in. Is that you're referring to the last step when it said
Yes,
think
the
about the
last
day of
step,
death?
the death.
Okay. So I think that's beautiful. He just that Rav Kook here is tying in with this idea of the way to relate to the kind of naturalness. And so I think it's correct what you're saying, just to tie it in with the naturals, because death is the opposite of naturalness. So that's why he uses it as the first step is to embrace the naturalness. And that's what we want, really, ideally. And when all else fails, withdraw from the naturalness. That's the image of death. But it's certainly true what you're saying. Okay, we'll have to pause here. And we're about to go in and read the Megillah. And have a great day, everybody, and do all kinds of mitzvahs. And we'll see you later.